Edwin Gregurek is your military hero for the month of July. Edwin was born in Ganado and was active in sports, playing football and track, and then enlisted in the United States Army in 1946. At this time, many were drafted in the Army, but Edwin liked the idea of getting his college paid for, so he enlisted.
After basic training, I went to the Army Medical School for enlisted personnel. And there we were taught like anatomy and physiology of the human body, of all the parts and what they did.
Edwin would become an Army medic and was sent overseas to the Philippines taking care of soldiers. Edwin was later transferred to Japan from the Philippines, a time he'll never forget because the trek to Japan was done on a tugboat.
And they put us on, transferred 10 of us out of there, and they put us on a seagoing tugboat. It had accommodations for a crew of 3, and they put 10 of us on there, and we stayed on there for 3 days and almost 3 nights. And when we landed in Okinawa, it was like cold. They had a cold front came through there, and it was like 35 degrees, and it was kind of a misty, heavy fog and rain. And then this captain of this tugboat pulled in this dock there, and he said, "This is as far as I'm taking you folks." He said, "I called the hospital and they're going to come pick you up." But I said, "In the meantime, I want you to stay right here on this dock. Don't go anywhere. Don't set foot above anywhere off of this dock. Don't go over there to that building or walk on that lawn over there. Well, there's lots of unexploded war toys there."
In Japan, he would do intakes of soldiers, figuring out what was wrong with them and then send them to the correct doctor. From there, he was transferred to the 609 Quartermaster Graves Registration in Manila, Philippines, where he would identify the skeletal remains of soldiers to make sure those bodies got back to their families, as well as to bury the dead, a more grim side of the military many are probably unaware of.
I presume that most of the people don't know anything about graves registration, and I didn't either until I was part of it. When I got to this graves registration place, it was about 15 miles out in the country, out of Manila there. 15 miles from nowhere. It was way, way out there. Yeah. And it is a huge, huge cemetery. It's probably the biggest cemetery I have ever seen in my life. It was probably more than a half mile wide and more than a mile long. And it was called World Cemetery because anybody that died as a result of World War II, regardless of who they were, what they did, or anything else, they were the privilege of being buried there. And there was a lot of Americans buried there.
It wasn't exactly what he wanted to do, but it was his task, and he rose to the occasion to serve his country.
Yeah, well, that's what I was signed to, and you didn't have no choice. That's what you did. You went and did what they said.
Edwin briefly went to Papua New Guinea, sent to recover the remains of soldiers who were in a B-17 bomber which had crashed there, but the mission had to be scrapped, and it might surprise you as to why.
We got all that lined up, and we were getting ready to go, and then the day we were supposed to go, this guide come by. He said he's not going to go there. We said, "Why?" He said, "Well, he talked to a village chief about 15 miles from where we were, and he told me about, he knew about that airplane and where it was and everything I needed to know about it. But he said, don't go there because there's cannibals there." So we had to scratch that project.
After the military, Edwin went to pharmacy school at UT in Austin, and he didn't hold it against me that I'm a Sooner. So, Edwin, this is for you. Hook 'em horns.
And we processed lots of remains. And then I was sent home and discharged in 49. And I went to college and went to pharmacy school and started practicing pharmacy in 53.
After college, he worked in retail and hospital pharmacies for much of his career before retiring in 2006. Edwin will be 95 next month and still gets around just fine. He's been attending an exercise class 3 times a week since the 90s. It's probably why he's in such great shape.
See, I go to exercise 3 times a week to our health center. And she and I have been in that since 1999.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been going to exercise class for over 20 years.
What's that?
You've been in that class for over 20 years.
Close to 24 years, yeah, 1999. 3 times a week, 1 hour, hour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for 3 times a week.
Edwin has 2 sons and a daughter and 2 granddaughters and still stays plenty busy, saying that whatever it takes to get him off the couch.
Well, I'm a master gardener. I work at the airport, and I work with Warriors Weekend here, and I'm a civilian police academy.
So thank you, Edwin, for your service to your country, for his full 40-minute extended interview of his time in the Army and everything he did while he was there. Please come to crossroadstoday.com for a link to watch that extended cut. He's got some pretty amazing stories. Adam Seibel, KAVU TV 25 News Now.